I think for me, it's harder to get dressed and put makeup on than set up a crypto account.
Really?
I hate getting like glammed up.
Really? It must be all your years of ballet.
Yeah, probably something to do with that. Yeah, if I don't have to wear makeup, I really won't do it.
Wow. I love the opportunity. I want to check your mic really quickly. Are you using your mic like this one?
Yeah. Is it not sounding so good?
It sounds like your laptop.
Oh, really?
Does your one? Oh, now it's good.
I will just hold it like this, like a twat. This is what happens when you're a gypsy and you travel and you don't have a home.
I know the feeling. I think we should introduce ourselves because this is the first time that Sophie and I are doing video podcasts.
Yeah, and I look like a fucking amateur.
2023 is going to be a year for crypto girls.
I hope so. I think it will.
Yeah.
I'm passionate. You're passionate.
Yeah.
Hopefully that counts for something. I think our goal is just to explain things in a non-threatening way, inform everyone of the tea that's going on in the crypto world. And there's definitely a lot of it, particularly in the climate that we are in at the moment.
Okay, I'm going to introduce Sophie. She is a lawyer. She's an ex-dancer. She's a yoga fanatic.
I love crypto. I've been interested in crypto for a few years and I started off my journey from an investment perspective. And now I'm more just obsessed with the technology, obsessed with the drama that goes on in the industry, and just riveted by this new technology, I suppose. If you want to hear more, go to our first episode. And I'll introduce you. This is Nikita. This is my very dear friend. We've known each other since we were in preschool, where we had beef in Montessori, but we've sorted that out now and we've come together. Nikita's a economics student doing her master's at the University of Tokyo, and she is slaying that so hard. And Nikita's done coding. She's done a diploma in computer science, and her undergrad was in geography and politics in international relations. So she's very well versed. She's done an internship at the UN under 20. Were you under 20?
I think I might have been 19.
Oh, you're bloody ancient.
Yeah.
No, so she's very well accomplished and very well read, and a fantastic partner to have in Crypto Girls.
Thank you.
And she's also a crypto fanatic.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could be into something a little less nerdy. I mean, blockchain doesn't roll off the tongue.
Violin. She also plays the violin, which, that's kind of hipster.
Yeah.
And you lived in Wellington for a while, so you're automatically cool if you live in Wellington.
Yeah. I think crypto is not like necessarily the coolest thing, but it has grabbed my attention for sure.
What? You can't say that on Crypto Girls. I think crypto is very cool. I just think that there is a very specific market, excuse the pun, people who are interested, and it covers quite a broad gambit of people. You've not gambit, ambit. Gambit's like a chess move. Yeah, there's people who, like me, would come at it from an investing perspective and not really see it as much more than that. And then people who come at it from a tech perspective or a libertarian perspective, or I don't know, there's so many different aspects to it.
Or the crypto girls perspective.
The crypto girls perspective, which is where we all hope that everyone comes from.
making crypto cool again. It should be our tagline.
It's like that's like Mecca.
Yeah. Like Mecca Cosmetics.
Yeah, but like the anagram for the making crypto cool again is Mecca. Okay, anyway, I digress. But we should get a hat made with that on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this episode we wanted to discuss one of the many scandalous happenings of 2022 in the crypto world, And we were talking about this the other day, is that we think that it's been a little bit overshadowed and not covered as much as in the crypto industry because of what happened with FTX. And I think a lot of crypto hacks and failures have been overshadowed by the titan of FTX collapsing. And I can certainly say that we've been very captured by FTX. But it's good to go back and have a look at these things, because at Crypto Girls, we're about protecting yourself from risk and operating in the most informed way possible.
Mango Markets, it's very obscure. It's a very obscure platform, but hundreds of millions were stolen from Mango Markets last year. And in the crypto world, it's so strange that things like hundreds of millions can basically disappear and no one talks about it. Whereas if a company, let's say someone like Uniqlo went under, everyone would know about it.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I think it's just a testament to how difficult it is to create a totally secure, decentralized entity. But I suppose we'll get into that more as we delve along. But I think that leads us very well into explaining what actually the fuck is Mango Markets.
Yeah.
I'll give us a little spiel. Mango Markets is a DeFi trading platform which is governed by a DAO. And we're just going to stop right after that sentence, because there's a few little nuggets in there, a few terms that, if you're new to crypto, may be a bit foreign to you. So we'll go first with DeFi. DeFi stands for decentralized finance. And basically, that just means that it's an online platform which operates in giving financial services, which is run by a decentralized entity. And what that means is that there's no central figure. So this one's governed by a DAO. So that's that's the second term. DAO stands for decentralized autonomous organization. We have a whole podcast about DAOs with one of the leading world experts on DAO and the legal aspects around DAOs. I think the only thing that I would add is that a DAO is governed by smart contracts. And so it's like a self-fulfilling computer prophecy, a self-fulfilling computer code, whereby if the members of the DAO vote on a specific thing that's in the smart contract, they have a certain percentage where like 50% or above. And if 50% of the DAO, 51% of the DAO votes for a protocol, then that protocol will act out. So it's very conceptual at this stage. But as we just begin to explain Mango Markets, this is just one example of a DAO. There's many different DAOs out there, and what we learned from Alex Sims is that some things that are called a DAO aren't necessarily a DAO. But I think Mango Markets, from my perspective, falls under that definition pretty well. But yeah, so Mango Markets, DeFi trading platform, decentralized finance trading platform, which is governed by a DAO, and it was built on the Solana blockchain. And that doesn't mean that it's a Solana product. There's lots of different blockchains that you can use to build other products, other codes on top of. Ethereum was the first one to do it, famously. But there are other blockchains that people can use to roll out their own projects. And basically, Mango Markets was used by quite, I would say, proficient crypto dealers who wanted to trade futures or spot trading. So quite complex crypto trades, or lend or borrow crypto. So it's not kind of like your easy crypto where it's just buy and exchange crypto from fiat to crypto. It's a little bit more complex than that.
On that note, I've heard that Celsius was kind of like an easier. So Celsius was a DeFi platform as well, and that was like slightly easier for novices to get into, whereas Mango Markets is like a little bit more advanced, so you kind of have to know a little bit about code and a little bit about like DeFi and its nitty-gritty state, to be able to use it. So
is that because of the way that the interface is set up, or what's the reason for it being more difficult to use?
Yeah, I think because you can also download it and interact directly with a blockchain instead of just interacting with a website, which is what most people do. So I guess to kind of give a visualization of what's happening, because blockchain is very conceptual and it's hard to kind of picture what's going on.
Sure.
So the trading platform was essentially, you know, if you've ever seen crypto bros or tech bros or finance girls, like have their big screens and they have all these like bars and things and they're trading like a million graphs and they're like doing buy and sell orders. That's essentially what the trading platform looks like on Mango markets. You can leverage quite a lot of money and make a lot of money if you're good at it, and or lose a lot of money if you're bad at it. The DAO is, you can actually access it on a website called Realm. So if you just Google Realm, you can like look at the DAO organization. You can see the proposals they've been voting on. And so Realm is like connected with the Solana blockchain. And you can also see that there are a ton of other DAOs on this website that you can just like look at, because everything with blockchain is public. You can really just see like what they're voting on, what has happened, what hacks have happened, the exact timestamps, like what addresses voted, because it's not people voting, it's wallet addresses voting.
Yeah, sure.
So
I think that's what makes crypto so interesting, is that if a company is breaking down, you often, well, pretty much all of the time, I'd say you're shielded from 90% of the stuff that goes on. But when you have a DeFi platform, it's all publicly available, public knowledge. You know what they're voting on, you know what they're talking about, you know how much money they've lost, because it's all publicly recorded. And though, yeah, I suppose it's pseudonymous in the sense that people's wallet addresses are being used, so you might not know exactly who is voting on what. If you didn't know who owned the addresses, it's all of the big macro stuff is out in the public domain, which is pretty juicy.
Yeah.
Like I say so myself. I think a good thing to mention at this point as well is that for this DAO, in order to be a part of the voting structure, you had to own Mango coin, which was the native coin of Mango markets. And you could speculatively trade Mango coin, but its primary purpose as a coin was to be a governance token. And so the way that voting in a DAO works is you kind of vote with your feet, and you can use the cryptocurrency that you hold. And the more cryptocurrency you hold, the more powerful your vote will be. So if I held 10 Mango coins and Nikita holds 100, she can vote 10 times as much as me, I suppose. So there's definitely issues with, I suppose, equality in DAOs. But in this situation, I suppose it kind of operates similarly to like a stock in a company, a share in a company, which, you know, it's interesting. And I think we'll get to that point later at legally how that might play out with what's happened with Mango markets. But just an aside there, should give a bit of context as to how the Mango coin works. So Mango markets was set up on the Solana blockchain, collateralized lending DeFi company. And there was a man by the name of Avraham Eisenberg. I'm very sorry.
Everyone called him Avi.
Which
I think is actually a really cute name.
That's a very cute name. That's a lot easier than I shouldn't butcher his name, so we'll just call him Avi Eisenberg.
Avi.
Avi.
She's so cute. Maybe I'll name my child Avi.
And then when they ask what they're named after, they'll think they're like a demon child or something. But anyway, so Avi Eisenberg kind of had like a bit of a reputation already as being a bit of a prolific hacker. But there is a bit more nuance to the way that he conducted his hack of Mango markets. So I talked about before how Mango markets allowed users to conduct futures trades, and I don't know if I really want to talk about like nitty gritty what futures trading is, but I suppose I have to for this. What Avi did was he decided that he wanted to conduct a futures trade. And so he created all of these accounts on different exchange platforms and bought up a whole lot of Mango coin. And what this did to the price of Mango coin was it drove it up because basic supply demand laws. And while after he'd kind of driven this price up, he very quickly took out a collateralized loan on a different coin on the MNGO markets. I think it was USDT. He took out a USDT loan and used his MNGO that he held on the MNGO site as collateral. And at this stage, the MNGO value had jumped up to about 90 cents, 90 US cents, which is pretty high. And this was kind of after he'd pumped it up by just increasing the demand hugely. And then after he kind of had pumped up the coin, he decided to conduct his rug pull. So because there was no demand inflowing for MNGO, there was a very quick rise and a very quick fall in the value of MNGO, and it ended up being 2 US cents from 90, which is a pretty significant rug pull. And what happened with MNGO markets is that upon this coin plummeting in value, his collateral wasn't worth that much anymore, and so he couldn't afford to repay his margin for the loan that he'd taken out, and so MNGO foreclosed his account and took the collateral. There's a lot of problems with this, but Eisenberg's claim was that he didn't actually manipulate the code because he used the code as it was supposed to be used. And he very infamously posted on Twitter, and I quote, "Statement on recent events. I was involved with a team that operated a highly profitable trading strategy last week," which is, I suppose, a very interesting way to put it, but it's clearly a technique from him trying to dispute any liability that he might have. And then this is the tea. The next part is this is where the DAO comes in, which I think, Nikita, you could talk to about what happened with the DAO post him. Basically, I actually didn't say the amount that he managed to siphon out. He managed to siphon out $116 million worth of crypto from this debacle.
US dollars?
US dollars, yes.
Damn. Nice. So with the DAO, I don't even know if we're talking about the same like DAO situation that went on afterwards, because from what I heard, there was a questionnaire like whether he should be held legally accountable for this hack. It's not really, it is a hack, and it also isn't. Like, he's not doing anything outside. Like, Avi is right. He didn't do anything outside like what the code permitted. So is this really a hack? I guess it's like a hack, like lifestyle hack, you know?
It'll be interesting to kind of break this down when we talk about the legal things before, but I do understand the argument that, very strictly speaking, he did what the code allowed him to do. He didn't break any rules.
So Soph, can you cover what happened with the DAO after Avi Eisenberg hacked the MNGO markets?
Yes. So there's kind of two aspects to this, which I think are interesting. The first, so basically after this hack, in quotation marks, occurred, because I suppose it is a hack, but whether it's an illegal hack or not is left in the ether, if you will. So the DAO basically put a proposal to itself as to whether Avi would be able to keep a proportion of the money that he hacked in return for returning most of the money, identifying the bug that existed in the code, and absolving himself of any liability that the DAO would want to pursue against him in the future. And so the DAO basically had two votes. The first one fell over because they need a certain threshold for the vote to pass. And the second vote overwhelmingly said, yes, we will allow him to return the majority of the money for the promise of no criminal prosecution or pressing of charges. And I think there were 473 million votes in favor of the proposal and 16.5 million against the proposal. So an overwhelming majority there. Nikita discussed before with me that 32 million of those votes would have been, would they have been Avi's? Because his collateral was seized of MNGO.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be a good thing to investigate in the future.
Yeah, so essentially the proposal passed, and Avi got to keep 47 of the 116 million that he hacked, which I don't know. For me, it seems excessive. And the second part that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to talk about was the bug bounty that exists in a lot of companies. So this is something that I learned when I was researching this case specifically, but I think it's a pretty common thing for DeFi companies to have a bug bounty whereby they will reward hackers for identifying bugs in the system. So if they manage to steal over, this is Mango Market's policy for a bug bounty, is that if you steal what they've deemed to be a critical amount of crypto by identifying a bug in the system, they'll reward you with 10% of value of your hack. So this kind of was the category that Avi's conduct fell under, but his proportion of that he paid back to the DAO was, he kept so much more than 10% of his hacking.
He kept it like, what, 70% or something like that?
47 million of 116 million. God, I'm not a maths girl, but
okay, so that's like basically half.
Pretty much half. And you know, enough to live a decent life in the countryside with your wife and kids.
That might satisfy me.
Wouldn't be too bad for most of us. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting aside, and something that I learned just researching for this case is that obviously if you're a hacker and you're reasonably proficient and you kind of want a Robin Hood job, you could make a decent amount of money trying to hack crypto companies, but I'm sure that this protocol or this policy exists beyond. I know that people do it to banks, but whether they're officially contractors or
yeah.
not, who knows?
Well, the interesting thing is that Mango Markets has a Discord, and for people who don't know what a Discord is, it's like a Slack or basically like a WhatsApp. It's just a messaging, yeah. Messaging service that a lot of like gamers actually use, and now a lot of like comp sci people use it. And he posted on the Discord, on the Mango Markets Discord, that there was this bug, and he posted this a week before he hacked it. And I think what happened is that he discovered that he was able to exploit a lot more by actually hacking the thing than trying to get this bug bounty. And he went through the hack. And another interesting thing to note is that Avi is a self-described applied game theorist.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, so he obviously calculated the payoffs and thought about it. What was the ultimate payoff? Like what's the ultimate profit he can get, and what are the risks involved? And someone else did this, someone namely called Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline Allison. And they're both heading
to jail for a long time.
Guys, theoretical economics, theoretical game theory is not real life.
I think it's just it seems like it's so easy to just get caught up in the rush of things as well. It must be incredibly exhilarating to discover a bug that you could exploit for hundreds of millions of dollars in a system. I mean, that would feel God tier, I can imagine. So maybe it's just people's minds running away from them as well, putting bias on the game theory.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, game theory does teach you to be very selfish. Like, you have to be very pragmatic, but it completely ignores like the human condition.
Yeah,
about like emotions and many things. It's very hard to mathematically evaluate emotions and how people feel and how prosecutors are feeling about certain things. So,
well, absolutely. And I think the SEC and CFTC are kind of out for blood at the moment. And particularly since the FTX crash, I think that was a bit of a stab to the ego of, what's his face? The SEC chair, Gary Gensler.
Gary Gensler, GG.
Yeah, well,
he was Gossip Girl.
Yeah, GG, Gossip Girl, undercover. But yeah, he was pretty criticized for the FTX fail, which I don't know if that was necessarily fair, but I feel like it makes sense that would be out for blood for other hackers of other crypto empires where they can, where their resources will allow. And for a hack of $116 million US dollars, it seems like the resource payoff would be enough for them to pursue this. Which wasn't obviously a calculation that Eisenberg took into consideration when he bargained with the DAO, because as the SEC and the CFTC, you can take lay charges against an individual or a company or anyone you like, really, and it doesn't matter which deals you've made in a DAO or not, they have jurisdiction regardless. So I think that kind of leads quite nicely into the whole
Sophie, you should be taking my game theory exam next week.
Oh my God, no. Oh, I would do. Oh.
That was a good summary. So talk us through like the investigation, like, because Eisenberg recently got arrested. He's been arrested a few times. I don't know. I just let Sophie deal with all the legal stuff.
Well, actually, it's interesting that you've brought up that he's been arrested a few other times. I do know that he had a bit of a reputation for being a hacker, but I haven't delved into his other arrests or reprimanded actions. Like,
I don't know. I just saw that he was like arrested in December and then again in January, and then like 5 or 6 or 7 days ago, they were like charged him. I don't really know the difference between being arrested and being charged. So just take what I say with a grain of salt.
I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I believe the difference between being arrested and being charged is that if you're formally charged, they are identifying a particular criminal provision, which they believe that they have the requisite evidence to convict you in a court. So and when you're being arrested, I suppose that they have interrogation rights, and they can hold you if necessary, if it's deemed necessary for safety. Or I think that's a good question. I mean, legally, I won't be able to give you the exact right answer, but those are distinctions that I can make just from the word go. But he was recently charged by the SEC for market manipulation. And I'll just break down what market manipulation, the provision in the US says, and he's been charged in the state of New York. The market manipulation provision has 2 aspects, like any criminal matter. And the first is mens rea, which we all know and love from Legally Blonde.
Wait, what?
Mens rea. So mens rea is the mental element, whether someone intended to do something, whether they were reckless about something, whether they were willful in their conduct.
It's like in the intent thing.
Yeah, so that's exactly. Intention is the highest element of mens rea, so it's the hardest to prove. So with murder, I mean, there's different degrees of murder, of course. There's murder's maybe not a good one, but the more serious are criminal charges, the higher the mens rea has to be. Some criminal offences you don't need any mens rea for. So if I parked my car on a space in the street, they wouldn't need to prove that I had intention to do that, because it's a strict liability claim, which means that there's no mental element. So there are some criminal offences that don't have this tied to it, but the more serious you get, the more mental premeditation or intention is required. So for this,
my illegal parking is definitely premeditated.
I think most people's are, but they don't care. They're going to slap you with whatever they can. So I think they know that everyone does it on purpose. So they just doing it's enough, basically.
Right.
Anyway, I got so many people out of parking tickets in uni. But that's another story for another day. But
okay,
I'll tell you after this podcast. I'm not giving out any free legal advice.
Okay.
For you, I will. For friends, I will. But anyway, back to market manipulation. So that's what he was charged with by the SEC. Yeah. So the first element, mens rea, the mental element, what is intentional or willful conduct designed to deceive or defraud investors by controlling or artificially affecting the price of securities. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but I think the important phrases to take away here are intention or willful conduct. And so those are the elements of mens rea that they've stipulated for this crime. And then defrauding investors by controlling or artificially affecting the price of securities. That's pretty straightforward. And then there are two other, that last part's the actus reus, the physical act which they've done. So there's the mental element and the actus reus, which is what makes up a crime. So there are two elements to the market manipulation offence. There's the mens rea, which is intentional or willful conduct, and then there's the actus reus, which pertains to the physical act, which is, and I quote, designed to deceive or defraud investors by controlling or artificially affecting the price of securities. And I think the really interesting thing to point out here, and will inform a lot of what goes on in the trial, is that this provision specifically calls out securities. So one of the big debates legally in crypto at the moment is whether cryptocurrencies fall under the realm of commodities or securities. And the interesting thing is the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission in the US, have also charged Eisenberg. So it seems like to me the CFTC and SEC in this case are grandstanding to try and figure out where Mango Market specifically sits within this commodities securities spectrum, but also maybe to set a precedent for future cases as to what a securities crypto token looks like as opposed to a commodities crypto token.
It's commodities securities.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Eisenberg is in the middle.
He is. And I don't really feel particularly sorry for him because I think he was a bit conniving in the way he went about things. And I think that if it was a woman hacker, it would have been a little bit more sophisticated, and maybe she would have just, cut her losses and taken the bug bounty. 10% of 116 million is still 11.6 million. So babes, come on. But he also probably wasted a lot of money pumping up the Mango token. So his takeaway was probably less. I don't know. Maybe just don't commit crimes, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in court, because obviously the SEC and the CFTC can't both succeed because of the small matter of a crypto token not being able to be both a commodity and a security. But if you want my 2 cents on what I think, Mango coin, we talked about earlier, as a governance coin. And so the ownership of it allows you to vote for protocols in a DAO. And to me, that sounds very similar to how securities operate. So if you bought a stock in a company, you have voting rights, however diluted, however insignificant, you do still have rights in that company. And I don't think Mango Markets would ever pay a dividend, but I suppose maybe it would. It's DeFi.
Probably some interest, something like that.
Yeah, that's true. But I think when you own a stock in a company, you have voting rights. You might get a dividend depending on what the Constitution says. And so I think Mango token sounds a little bit more like, governance rights, voting rights. That sounds a little bit more like a security to me than just a transactional thing.
It's less of a barrel of oil.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, for something like Bitcoin, it seems like that's quite clearly in the commodity category, and that's where all the kind of guidance is said. And I think the CFTC's even said that Bitcoin is 100% a commodity, because you are just trading it. Owning Bitcoin doesn't get you any special rights to a special club, whereas a lot of other tokens do have those rights attached to them.
Yeah. So that's really interesting that the two the two commissions are going after Eisenberg. And the other thing I wanted to cover is, I think just one last thing, is that there's a debate where the code is law. So a lot of people, like we mentioned in the start, that Mango Markets is fairly complicated. And so people who go into Mango Markets surely know that they're signing up and it's going to be risky, and that, you know, that they can lose all their money. And I assume that like 99% of them, they're not like everyday traders. They're not like mums and dads investing a little bit of Bitcoin on FTX. It's like a different situation. This is it's like going into a casino and complaining that you lost all your money. Like, people knew this was risky. And I think that's also why it got a lot less media attention. It's just because it is like a little sketch from the beginning.
Yeah, and it is smaller scale, I suppose, than FTX and amongst many other hacks that have happened this year. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So the Eisenberg is using the argument that he just did everything within the realms of the code. Like, there was a fault in the code and that's not his problem. And what jurisdiction does the US have over like what's happening in this random like crypto space? Like,
something I should look up is, where is Mango Markets incorporated? Is it even incorporated? Who knows?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, the US is taking charge on a lot of legal prosecutions with crypto and stuff. Maybe just because they have the resources or because they want to be like first movers. But it is a really interesting question. Like, what kind of right do they have over crypto?
Yeah, that's definitely a question for me to research. Where is Mango Markets headquarters? Mango Markets is located in Solana, Misamis Oriental, Philippines. I love how it's like located in Solana. How like Gucci is that?
No, because the guy who founded Solana, he named it after his favorite beach.
Oh my gosh.
Which is Solana Beach. I didn't know it was in the Philippines, but now I really want to go to the Philippines and visit this beach.
Yeah, then you can have like a pina colada on Solana. Oh, funny. Oh, wow.
So there's obviously just a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is interesting that if there'll be an American entity, I would say, if the US are taking legal action. But I think that if you're going to run a website in the US, you'd have to have an incorporated company there at least.
They could be doing it on the basis of that people in the US were affected, like people. I really don't know what grounds they're going
what
on.
Standing they have. It is a really interesting question.
But they obviously have some kind of standing, because otherwise, you know, they wouldn't be going after him and wasting all their time when they have Sam Bankman-Fried on the loose.
100%. Well, actually, that's a good question for me to research.
Yeah.
I suppose it's just, you know, when you're a law student, you're really on one side of it. You're looking at the reaction to the crime or the reaction to the civil action. You're not looking at usually you don't really look at what standing the prosecution has or the contract holder has to prosecute. I mean, I did do international law, but we didn't really cover stuff like this. I don't know. It's interesting. It's a lot more interesting in the digital age, I think, because things are a lot more globalized now.
Yeah, and wait till we start owning property in space. What kind of jurisdictions?
I know. Imagine in Decentraland and in space, in Mars, space law. Maybe that'll be in another life.
I think that kind of sums up what's happening with Mango Markets. A lot of it is TBC.
Yes, there's a big question mark hanging over, like a grey cloud over Mango Markets. Should we just do thoughts and opinions? Like, what do you think? Do you reckon, like, throw him to the dogs? He's an absolute a-hole and he deserves to get put in jail and to have his profits disgorged?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm really conflicted because I think that his arguments are correct. And I also think that if we keep using this argument that code is law in the blockchain space, then there's so much shit that can happen in the future. And I don't like, coders are still trying to figure things out, and smart contracts aren't very robust yet. And so in the next 10 years, it could just open up a whole lot of like gaping holes and people can just get exploited and get away with it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be like, Eisenberg can go and then have this happen again and it be worse.
Yeah.
And more like innocent people are affected. Like, I don't want that to happen. So on one hand, I can understand why the SEC and CFTC want to go after him.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a balance of like coders law and like ethical law.
Yeah. You make such good points. And I think there's definitely, it'll be case by case, and it'll be so dependent on what the hack is and who's done it and why they've done it and what knowledge they had when they were conducting the hack. But it seems very calculated. I mean, I didn't really think about it like this until we've started talking about it, but it seems very calculated that he, instead of taking a bounty, a hack bounty, he decided that he was going to manipulate the DAO and bargain for more chips than he was kind of allocated, I suppose. And that seems very, very calculated. And yes, maybe he didn't breach the code. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he used it as it was designed. But I still think that there is a big chasm between using the code as it's designed and intentionally defrauding a whole protocol out of hundreds of millions of dollars and knowing exactly how to do it and exactly that it's not the intended use of that system. And yeah, I don't know. I think throw him to the wolves. He needs to be, I mean, if he's not made an example of it, it just opens up the industry for more people doing similar things and getting away with it, I suppose, and walking off with a whole lot of other people's money. Well, there you go. It'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. And I was watching a video this morning, doing a little bit of final research, and the guy was talking about how he had 10% of his net, like, 10% of his worth tied up in MNGO markets. And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all gone now. He's an Aussie bloke, actually. And he lost, I think, a similar percentage of his net worth in Celsius. So hasn't had a lot of luck. But he seems pretty nonchalant about it. So I think that's really, honestly, if you're trading in these kind of systems, that's the way you've got to be.
You have to go into this knowing you can lose everything. And honestly, like, some of these platforms are really, really sketchy when they're promising like high returns and high leverage and stuff. It's kind of like,
yeah, there's no such thing as get rich quick.
Yeah, it is. You're essentially walking into a casino, so no one's going to be crying for you if you lost 10,000 in Macau.
Yeah, I think it's just like an educated gamble, I suppose.
Because they're trading shit coins, so
yeah,
it's not really. It's
yeah, I suppose that's so true. I don't know. It's just like day traders.
Let's just say that if you're a man watching this and you're a day trader. No, I don't have to say that.
Anyone watching this in your day trader, like, what the fuck is a support? What the fuck is a ceiling?
And you're single, maybe there's a reason.
You're just worrying too much about your dead cat bounce. You can't. No, I can't say that. I mean,
would you be with a day trader?
Nah, probably not. I don't want to say that there's not much intellect behind it, but I'm like, how can there be? You're looking at a graph and it's completely theoretical. It's like I've watched YouTube videos about it before, and he's like, yeah, like, you just got to look at like the previous support and just figure out, like, you know, where the trends are coming from and that. Like, I don't know, actually I probably shouldn't, because I'm just going to start sounding stupid, but like, just looking at patterns, like pretty patterns that don't really have any mathematical, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong videos.
I don't know, maybe it's just a stereotype. It's like a stereotype, like the crypto bros. Like, crypto bros are so...
We've got to get a day
annoying.
trader on the pod now.
Yeah, break down stereotypes of day trading.
That's actually a fucking gangster podcast idea. Because I don't know if they will be able to do it, but like...
challenge. If you're a day trader, message us,
Hit us up.
email us,
Prove us
Nikita
wrong.
at CryptoGirlsHQ.com.
I'm so willing
And
to
we
be
might get
proved
you a
wrong.
podcast.
I would really love to love day traders, but just to me, I don't really understand like whether there's actually any informed sentiment behind it. Very nice to speak with you all today, even though it's kind of a one-way thing, but we just really feel like you're our audience and no, I actually can't. Gonna cut that out.
Okay. Thanks for listening to our podcast on Mango Market. See you next time. We will be covering lots of scams in this quarter. We're not becoming a scam podcast. I don't want to become a scam podcast, Sophie, but like,
yeah,
we do need, I think there's just so much stuff that's happened and it's the best way to learn about crypto. So we're just going heads in. If you don't understand everything, it's okay. Neither do we.
Don't say that. We've lost all credibility.